Welcome to B2B Sales Trends, the podcast dedicated to sales leaders in the B2B space, where we share conversations about innovative and successful sales transformations to keep you up to date on the latest trends. This podcast is brought to you by Global Performance Group.
Welcome yet to another fabulous episode of the B2B Sales Trends podcast, my lovely people. The show that brings you hacks, tips, and thought leadership to the topic of B2B selling. My name is Harry Kendlbacher, and today I have with me Rafa Mercado. Rafa is the US lead, the market leader for consumer and travel at Kyndryl, if I pronounce that right. Welcome to the B2B Sales Trends podcast, Rafa.
Thank you, and congratulations on pronouncing my name very well. You have almost a Latin accent.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but anyway, I take the compliment. Appreciate it. Rafa, give us a bit of an introduction about yourself, your role, to start this off with. That'd be fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for having me, Harry. Very recently, maybe a couple months back, I'm leading, as you mentioned, our consumer and travel business, more so on the consulting area at Kyndryl, which we're putting a lot of investments in that space. We're very proud that we grew 28% last year alone, and that's second the size of our closest competitor, right? So we're growing very aggressively, and that only means one thing, right? The customers are trusting the value propositions that we're putting in front of them. And the industries that I am honored to lead, right, is CPG, retail, car rentals, airlines, hotels, cruise lines, and the like, logistics, rail. So I have always been particularly passionate about everything that moves either a thing or a product from A to B, or passengers, or creating delightful consumer experiences. It's been a passion of mine. And look, my career have always really centered around understanding how to unlock value for enterprise clients, particularly in the complex world of IT services and digital transformation. So excited to be here and to answer any question that you might have, Harry.
Absolutely. Well, welcome. We appreciate you taking the time. You know, we had a pre-call to this recording, and one of your past responsibilities, and I know going forward responsibilities, is really customer growth within the market. You know, at your organization, what does customer growth really mean, and what does it take to move sort of the needle across complex enterprise accounts at Kyndryl?
Yes. So it's interesting, right? Because I was moved from a role that I had almost two years, right? Creating strategies on how to create customer strategies, how to grow our customers, create the right planning and enablement. And now that I'm in this role as a P&L leader or market leader, right, I have to execute the strategies that I was preaching and creating before. But look, at Kyndryl, the definition of growth varies, right? In different companies, different industries. For some, it's like, okay, top line growth, bottom line, or have a larger customer base. For our investors, specifically at Kyndryl, growth means cash flow growth, profit growth, revenue growth. But culturally, though, internally, within our customer teams, we pivoted that mindset for like now a couple of years from, hey, you need your account needs to grow X%, versus to, how will you make your customer or your client grow, how and where, right? So that pivots, right, the mindset, because we know there's extremely high correlation that when they grow, we will grow with them. And look, at Kyndryl, customer growth also extends, I would say, far beyond just simply acquiring new logos. Yeah. While business is vital, of course, that type of business, a significant portion of our growth comes from deepening our relationship with existing enterprise accounts. This means expanding our footprint within a client, moving to new departments or business units, and increasing the scope of the services that we provide, all to become an indispensable and essential strategic partner. And that involves doing things like proactive value identification, having multi-threaded relationships, doing outcome-based selling, and most importantly, and maybe my favorite, evidence-based impact. And that means being able to articulate and measure the value that we are already delivering using data and success stories to build credibility for future engagements.
Interesting. And you used a term that's close to our heart because our whole methodology is about outcome-based selling. That's great. How have you implemented it at your organization? And implementing it is one thing, but how do you hold people accountable to really deepen these relationships with these enterprise clients?
This is perhaps one of the most critical aspects in modern enterprise sales. And that's how to help customer-facing teams speak the language of business and lead strategic conversations. And for that, we focus on a few pillars. Deepening industry acumen. It's not enough to know about our products and services, but our teams need to understand the customer's industry, its challenges, opportunities, regulatory landscape, and competitive pressures, right? And second, financial literacy, equipping sellers with a basic understanding of business finance, P&L statements, ROI calculations, and how our solutions, right, impact these financial metrics at the end of the day. Then what I call is having a business challenger mindset. That's training sellers to have a consultative mindset, ask probing and thought-provoking questions that challenge the customer's assumptions and uncover deeper, often unstated pain points or opportunities. Lastly, I think very commonly known, right? I mean, our teams need to have executive presence and communication. And that's how, we're constantly coaching them how to communicate effectively with senior executives, be concise, at the same time outcome focused, and whatever they speak, tailored to the strategic priorities.
That's really interesting. How, from your viewpoint, how does enablement now, so you've shared with us the few pillars, how does enablement need to evolve really to support sellers to do and execute just what you have said?
Yeah. We're living in a very dynamic environment. And I know that every 5 years we always say the same thing, but that's how fast technology is moving, right? One of the big pain points is that we're overwhelmed with information internally, and not to say externally, and people are struggling to keep the pace on how they can stay relevant with the latest. From my vantage point, Harry, this traditional sales enablement, which often focus solely on product training or basic sales methodology, is no longer sufficient. Enablement needs to be outcome-oriented, needs to be data-driven, needs to be contextual and just-in-time, has to be holistic and continuous, not just on the onboarding phase of a seller of a partner, and focused on a strategic acumen, right? Now, I can expand if you like, Harry, on any of these points, but I want to close this one with a big call to action, right? Which is, and some people may like this or not, but I don't care, I'll just say it. Enablement more and more depends on you and you alone, specifically with the advent of generative AI and agentic AI. Don't expect anymore to be reactive and just wait for your company to tell you, hey, this is the 10-part program that you're gonna have to do virtual, or fly you over to our center in Dallas and have in-person classes, right? Of course, we're gonna continue doing those things. But now it's up to you how you change your behaviors daily to leverage these technologies to specifically for customer-facing individuals, right? So partners, sellers, right? And shame on them if they're not leveraging AI daily for insights, for customer preps, for creating delightful and unique assets, how they are maximizing the value of a proposed solution to a customer, how they creating dynamic customer growth plans. The technology is there and it's available to us.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting what you shared. You know, I think you're spot on. And one of the recordings a couple of sessions ago with, I forgot who it was, to tell you the truth, but this person has framed this around, it's not about really enablement, it's about self-enablement.
I like
to
that.
really put the responsibility onto the people themselves to say, this is not about us spoon feeding you. This is about you picking up the knife and fork and eat yourself. So that whole idea of all of these things are available, you really need to, it's your responsibility to self-enable yourself. Would you agree with that point?
100%.
Right,
100%.
right.
I'm getting more value, Harry, on how, but it has to be a habit, right? I'm getting more value on how I'm teaching myself by having a growth mindset on the multiple things that I need to know than waiting for a corporate training or session, right? Or guidance from my company. And that's exactly the same how we are advising our customers, right? Our services are complex, but they're solving strong business problems. And sometimes we are transforming functions for our customers, reshaping processes, and a big piece of it is organizational change management. And people need to be open that their roles will change, right? And it's up to them how they want to stay relevant in their existing roles.
Yeah. It's so key that, especially in our industry, in B2B selling, is the human element is more and more important. It's really, really key that our behavior that we drive day to day when speaking to customers, that it's supported with all the technology around us. But really, we need to bring the human element to that game, and it needs to be at an elite level, which I believe is more and more important than ever, should I say.
Okay, and it's not easy. At Kyndryl, we're putting a lot of emphasis, and actually, I also lead, but internally, I lead a podcast just internally for the 90,000 Kyndryls, and it's about, I call it hobbits. It's around hobbies and habits and how they're driving value in the things that they do.
Right.
Because it's hard. It's easy for us to say, hey, I need to learn new things. But it's hard to identify what is it that you need to learn, because sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And second is creating the habit of truly setting up some time to do it. Because in customer facing roles, whether you're a partner or a product seller, it's intense, right? I mean, we have to be there always for our customer. We do not only sell, we deliver what we sell as well. And we have busy life. It's sometimes hard to compromise. Hey, I'm not gonna do this because I want to just train myself, put me in do not disturb mode, and I'm gonna learn some new skill.
Yeah. It's interesting when we look at new skills, new behaviors for salespeople. That's typically a reaction in our industry to how buying behavior has changed. It's so interesting. And when we talk about sales transformation, and changing sales behavior, I really believe that, and people struggle with change, and I believe that change is something that happens as a reaction to something else. Oh, now we have to change, right? And typically, buying behavior has changed. Okay, now we as sellers have to change too. Instead of really shifting that mindset to, no, it's really up to us to transform the conversation, right? To lead that change and make others change with us. What do you think, when we talk about buying behavior, what do you think has changed in buyers in terms of how they behave, how they interact, what is important to them? Share with the audience your experience there. What has changed in the world of buying?
Yeah. So given how these expectations from our customers are shifting, sellers, to stay relevant, they need to profoundly rethink that shift of having a transactional mindset to a continuous, how can I say this? Continuous value co-creation partnership.
Love it.
Because customers today are highly informed, right? And they have been for a while now. And even now, it has accelerated even more dramatically with AI, right? So they are informed. Often having done the extensive research even before engaging with us. And so they're no longer seeking for information. They're seeking for insights, strategy, and most importantly, tangible business outcomes. And that means that we need, hyper personalization at scale. So that's moving beyond generic pitches to deeply understanding each client's unique challenges and tailor the solution specifically to their needs, to their context. Second is have proactive value delivery, not just reacting, right? So that means sellers need to instill a culture where their teams are constantly looking for ways to add value even after the initial sale, proactively identifying new opportunities for partnerships, right? Now companies have sales and delivery separated. For us, as I think I mentioned earlier, we deliver what we sell, so we're very tightly integrated. So for us, doing proactive value delivery, it's in our DNA, it's in our systems, in the way that we behave, the way that we work, right? Then I see the rise of the what I call the ecosystem seller. These enterprise sellers is rarely a solo sport. It requires orchestrating internal teams, partners, and even the customer's own ecosystem to deliver comprehensive solution, right? And lastly, embracing data, huge commodity. Leveraging technology is not about just for efficiency, but for deeper customer intelligence, predicting needs, and optimizing the customer journey. So data, or data, I don't know how you want to pronounce it, needs to inform every sales decision. And let me end this by re-emphasizing again that this traditional sales playbook is being rewritten by AI. Customers are no longer seeking for information, as I mentioned. They expect hyper-personalized insights, relevant solutions presented precisely where they need them, and having a seamless, efficient buying experience.
My last question on every podcast is links into really solving these issues that you have just described, right? And when you hire a new salesperson, what are the top 3 qualities you're looking for in that salesperson? In other words, what are the 3 top skills and behaviors, the 3 top things that they're doing to really make them elite salespeople in your view? What would those 3 be?
So, as I mentioned at the beginning, we are heavily investing in our consulting practice. So we are reskilling a significant part of our partner base, and we're hiring very top talent from different firms, right? Even our competitors. And when we look for a partner, and you ask 3 things, I kind of jotted down on the fly the first 3 things that came to mind. Number 1 is to have a consultative mindset, right? Second is, as we want to balance how we grow our business between growing our existing customer base, which primarily is in IT and a little bit in the business, we want to expand more aggressively on the business side because now the business owners outside IT have lots of needs and they have the budget to spend on technology. So we're trying to reach those audiences as well in existing customers and in new logos. So we're looking for partners that have built trusted relationships with these executives at different firms. And if they don't have, we need to see qualities on how they forge relationship with somebody, not only the professional level, but also the personal level. And now, since we're solving very complex and difficult problems, we are looking for a person that can be an integrator. So a person that can, catch a business need and can go inside our firm, which is complex, right? We have multiple areas of expertise, centers of capabilities, practices, service lines, and really grab the offerings, the IP, the people, the experts to really create a solution that solves a problem for the customer, because the customer doesn't really care where are you bringing, which practice are you bringing, right?
So the top 3 things for Rafa: consultative mindset, build trust and relationships with senior level people and leaders, and collaborate internally to really make sure you are an integrator. My lovely people, you heard it here first. Rafa, this is sensational input. I know our listeners really appreciate your insights and thought leadership. Thank you so much for taking the time and contribute to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Harry. Cheers.
Absolutely. My lovely people, there are 2 calls to action for you. Go to the B2B Sales Trends.com site, share this episode or any other episode with your lovely colleagues and or your friends, as well as go to the YouTube channel B2B Sales Trends podcast. Give us a subscribe, give us a like if you benefited from the great insights from Rafa. Until the next episode, look after yourself, look after your loved ones, and of course, your B2B customers. All the best. Bye-bye.